Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Magic Beans podcast. My name is Chewy, and I am flying solo for episode 76. Slight variance in our normal podcast schedule. A lot going on in the world of the beans. And so we're recording this, well, I'm recording this just 24 hours later than we normally would. But we are 100% committed to getting the content out to you. And like always, there's just a lot happening in the world of Magic. There's always something on the horizon, if you know what I mean. And if you don't, we'll get to that very soon. But before I jump into today's episode, I want to just have a quick shout out to our sponsor, Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. They are a Facebook auction site for physical Magic cards. You can jump on to their site just by searching up Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar on Facebook, or there'll be a link as always in the show notes. And there you can bid on those cards. There's auctions that go up every single night, primo auctions on the weekend. They have a full-time auctioneer run a really tight ship. And I've done a little bit of traveling around this week, and Josh and Pat's HQ is actually in the just the next town over from where my parents live. We went up there to show off our little baby girl Lola, and I dropped in on Pat. I gave him a beans playmat and a pin, and had a chat. And it's fair to say, I walked out of there with an armful of swag. So there will be many, many giveaways, both on stream and on Twitter and such, for all things Josh and Pat's through the beans. So massive thank you to Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar for continuing to look after the Magic Beans. And that means more stuff for you guys. So absolutely amazing. Quick shout out before we get into our main topics. We mentioned on the cast last week the Game on Oz tournament. There was a $500 prize pool, and a couple of people from our Discord, namely Rolling Royce and our very own Shorty, I think he just packed a bunch of mountains and a bunch of small red aggressive creatures and some Embercleaves. Seems like a solid strategy. Found themselves in the top 4. We managed to get a few extra numbers from what we had on the cast last week, and Cracker, using his influencer skills, managed to get those numbers up to a respectable amount. The Wandering Bard did a great job of commentary. Shorty unfortunately finished 4th in the top 4 and outside the prizes, but our very own Rolling Royce won the whole shebang and gave the Beans a shout out in the victory interview. So much appreciated, Rolling Royce, and congratulations on your run of form. Your vein of form has been exemplary, from coming second in the Envy, winning the historic event, just generally crushing it. So congratulations. I hope we don't get paired anytime soon, because I know I am up against it. So and so the Game on Oz tournament, we'll let you know when the next one is, if there is a next one. And I think there was a few things that they learnt along the way, and even the Beans put up their hand to pitch in with some commentary next time, so we'll see how we go. But that's that Game on Oz tournament. Congrats to Shorty and to Rolling Royce. And for the other competitors, I think the other finalists is also from our Discord as well. So Beans represent. Okay, I mentioned something being on the horizon a little while ago, and that is right. Modern Horizons 2 preview season has officially started, and started with a bang. Absolutely started with an almighty bang. And there are some very, very cool cards. Some very, very impactful cards have been previewed so far. So one of the things that we're all hoping for, we got a reprinting of the enemy fetch lands, which, Arid Mesa, Mast Flats, Rainforest, Scalding Tarn, Verdant Catacombs. They are very expensive, these fetch lands, and hard to get. So a few more in rotation might not change the price, but may make them easier to get, if that makes sense. So there'll be some people that are just priced out of these, but other people that are demanded out of these, if you think about supply and demand. So a few more in circulation is great. And I believe it's in collector's boosters. You can get those enemy fetches in the old frames, which is pretty awesome and something I'm looking forward to because like in my Cube and Highlander decks, all of my OG fetches, the Polluted Deltas and Wooded Foothills, Windswept Heaths, I've got the original printings of those. And then you've got these, super bright, shiny Scalding Tarns and Misty Rainforests. And whilst they're good, they're not ugly or anything. They're just not as cool as the old frame. So I'd be pretty keen to get my hands on those and have a set of 10 matching old frame singleton because, Highlander playset, we'll call that. And yeah, I think it's really good. Like the old frame is not for everybody, but they're, if you don't like the old frame, just get the new frame. Now there's the option. So it's I think it's a really, really good thing. So really, really excited about those. There's a Lion's Eye Diamond reprint, sort of, in a way. There's a Diamond Lion, which is a 2-mana 2/2 artifact creature cat. So 2 generic for a 2/2. And it has tap used through the Lion's Eye Diamond thing. So it's a creature, so it has summoning sickness, so it's obviously less powerful. You have to pay 2 for it. It's not free, so it's obviously less powerful. But this is modern, not vintage or legacy. Discard your hand, sacrifice Diamond Lion, add 3 mana of any color. Activate this only is an instant. So the same keywordings and everything as LED, the OG LED. So yeah, I could probably expect to see some sort of combo deck shenanigans with this. Maybe because it's a creature, it might not be good enough, but certainly a very powerful effect. That sort of fixed Black Lotus, if you like, which was the LED intention. But yeah, there is still Infernal Tutor and such in Modern. So there's potential that something could be done there. There's Brainstone, which is a 1-mana artifact. It has 2 tap, sack, Brainstorm. Probably play that in draft if you're looking for some, artifact synergies. But yeah, just a cool card. Very cool art on that one as well. What else do we have out of Modern Masters? Something I'm excited about is Urza's Saga. That's right. They actually made a saga called Urza's Saga. And we had a set called Urza's Saga. So, it's like, hey, I heard you like sagas, so I made Urza's Saga a saga and, all the rest of it. So this is a really interesting card. It is an enchantment land, Urza's Saga. So it's a saga that's a land. It has 3 chapters. The first chapter, so this is one it gets when it comes into play. Urza's Saga gains tap, add colorless. Sweet. Cool. Chapter 2, Urza's Saga gains pay 2, tap, create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token with this creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. Chapter 3 is search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost 0 or 1. Put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So because it's a saga, you'll have to sacrifice it after Chapter 3 resolves. But there's a lot going on with this card. And if I'm thinking of this from it's in Modern Masters, so let's think of this from a modern deck. The first home that I think that this will find is as one of the utility land, flex land slots in Eldrazi Tron. So this jumped out at me as someone who has slung a few spaghetti monsters around the modern tables. So first of all, both the first and second ability say Urza's Saga gains this ability. So that effect persists throughout the other chapters. So on the first turn, second and third turns that you play this, you can tap it for colorless mana. So it's actually a really, really powerful land that, makes creatures and is a good mana sink, but it continues to tap for mana. So that is good. It's not like it's a one-shot colorless mana, colorless Lotus Petal that is a saga after that takes up your land slot. You can still tap it for mana on the subsequent turns. Although it is a tap ability on Chapter 2. So Urza's Saga gains, pay 2, tap, create a 0/0 construct. So you can get 2 constructs out of this for 4 mana. And if you're playing against a control deck in Modern, and we'll get to that very soon because there may be a bit of a rise in control decks. Yeah, you can make a 1/1, which might be a 2/2, 3/3, even a 4/4 that you're creating off the land. So it's a really efficient, essentially uncounterable, unless they're like trick binded or something, uncounterable threat. So all for just 2 mana. And if you're doing Tron things, then chances are you may have some mana to spare. So it's actually pretty exciting. So first turn, come in, play it as a land, tap it for mana, away you go. It's just like a normal land drop. Second turn that it's in, you can create a dude, create a beater, and that is good. Also, you could just use it to tap for colorless to keep playing your spaghetti monsters. Like, that's its fail case. It's just a land that taps for colorless mana. And chapter 3, it gets interesting. Search your library for an artifact card with mana cost 0 or 1. Put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So it is specific. It says mana cost 0 or 1, not mana value 0 or 1. So you can't go and get things like, oh my goodness, drawing a blank, the suspend Black Lotus that the name escapes me. You can't go and get that because it doesn't have a mana cost. It has to be 0 or 1. But you can go and get a Grafdigger's Cage. You can go get a Tormod's Crypt. You could go and get a Basilisk Collar. You could go and get a Ginger Brute, depending on what deck you're playing. And you put it onto the battlefield. So again, in the Eldrazi Tron context, you might have a Chalice of the Void on 1, and you can actually go and get an Expedition map and put this on, because it doesn't say play it without paying its mana cost. It's putting it onto the battlefield. So it gets around the Chalice, and yeah, you can go and, get up that land search that you need to complete Tron, or get the Ghost Quarter to break up what they're doing. So that's great. Also, in the Commander context, it goes and gets, Soul Ring. So it's pretty amazing. Or any of the, you can go and get the new Commander Lotus or anything like that. It's pretty bonkers, the things that you're able to tutor up with in Commander. So I expect any deck that can support a colorless land in Commander will probably run this, just because it can just do so much. It's a free tutor on suspend effectively. But you can respond to chapter 3. So the chapter trigger goes on the stack. You can respond to that by paying 2 and tapping it and creating a 0/0. In addition to the one that you created the turn before. So you're actually getting 2 bodies out of this, as I mentioned just before, and you're getting an artifact card out of your deck onto the battlefield straight away. So it's actually pretty amazing. This thing can do a lot. There could be some degenerate combo thing that we're not seeing just yet, but in its fairest context, if your Commander deck can support this, I recommend playing it. And yeah, if you're playing Tron, you probably want to play this, at least if you're playing Eldrazi Tron. Don't know if it quite makes a cut for Mono Green Tron, but yeah, it's really not bad. Hardened Scales, maybe. If Affinity was still a thing, it could also be a thing as well. So, just as a sort of a mana sink. Probably wouldn't play 4 of this because it only does hang around for 3 turns, but as a one-off fun-of, if you've got the ability to search lands, like in Commander or in Eldrazi Tron, or if you're playing an artifact beatdown deck akin to Affinity, then yeah, this might be a good little mana sink for those games where you've got those excess manas. So yeah, pretty exciting. All right, so there's a Saga. I'm excited by that one. The last one I want to talk about is something that might be a little bit polarizing. It's something that's been talked about going into Modern for some time, and it is Counterspell. So in case you are brand new to Magic and have never played against somebody playing with islands before, you may not be familiar with what Counterspell does, but Counterspell is blue and blue for an instant, and it just says counter target spell. It's one of those cards that's synonymous with Magic and blue mages, and I'm pretty sure it's been around since Alpha. It's definitely an iconic card, And yeah, it's being introduced into Modern. So I expect, at least in the early weeks, that people are jamming as many copies of Counterspell into any deck that they possibly can. But there's been a blue-white control deck that has been a viable option in Modern for a really, really long time. Azorius Control, Cheons, whatever you want to call it. It uses, Teferi and Celestial Colonnade and other Teferi, and it's got a bunch of Wraths and a bunch of card draw spells, and just, takes over the game and just, kills you. And it's traditionally played things like Mana Leak, and Counterspell is an enormous upgrade for that deck. But blue is not nothing, right? So those blue-white decks have often played colorless lands like Tectonic Edge and things like that to help control the game on that axis. So if, decks like Tron or, Valakut or something like that are trying to win via their lands, then they've played colorless sources, and they've got to play white spells as well, right? So they want to make sure they've got their Path to Exiles up and their Wraths and things like that. So blue is a real cost, but I really do expect Counterspell to make a big splash in Modern. We've already got things like Snapcaster Mage. Isochron Scepter exists in Modern. Isochron Scepter Counterspell, pretty cute. I don't know if it's good enough, but maybe we'll see some like Silence Counterspell Scepter deck come along. I don't know, but it's certainly more viable with just hard Counterspell. So I'm thinking it's worth trying. I don't know if it fully makes the cut. Maybe like a mono blue tempo deck that we saw in Standard and had in Pioneer. Maybe it's making Merfolk good again. I don't know. So the thing is, there's so many decks in Modern that can play Counterspell. It's going to find a home somewhere, and it's going to have a big impact, and people are going to get their spells counted and be salty about it. Just be aware that, Counterspell's a thing. People are going to leave 2 islands up and not have Counterspell, and that's going to be as effective as having a Counterspell in many, many situations. And that is, I guess, the power of Counterspell. Like, saying no is a really, really powerful thing. Like, here's my Primeval Titan. It's like, no, it's not. But the ability to say no, and that bluffing, and having that, just having it present in the format is something that is huge. It's going to have a big impact on the format, regardless of how widely played and how good it actually is. So it's I think that's a massive addition. So that's all we've seen so far for Modern Horizons. But fetch land's massively impactful. Counterspell, enormously impactful. A couple of cool cards that harken back to some nostalgic cards, and we've just seen Brainstorm in the Mystic Archives, and people have been playing with that card and remembering how much fun it is, or how powerful it is, or how frustrating it is when you don't play it right and you brainstorm lock yourself. So we've got Brainstone. And then we've got, something we've not seen before, which is a Saga land. So a pretty cool sort of design space there. And it's still a few weeks. I think it's 5 or 6 weeks until the set is released. So I expect we'll be talking more and more about Modern Masters over the next couple of episodes. But huge impact on Modern, and a real shake-up, and something I'm really looking forward to. So if you're lucky enough to be able to afford some sealed product here, then definitely jump on it. Otherwise, just make sure you grab the singles that you want. And again, Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar is always a good place to find those. All right. So we have talked a lot about Modern. We've talked in recent weeks a lot about Historic. We had the Mystical Archive with the Strixhaven release. We've had our Historic event. So, self-interest has dictated that we probably going to play a little bit more Historic, or talk about a little bit more Historic. And Standard's kind of been, it's like the forgotten format over the last few weeks. And, Historic's kind of a little bit solved now, and a lot of people are shying away from it, myself included, because just the investment in rare wildcards to get those Mystical Archive cards. I just haven't pulled the trigger. And, well, I don't have all of the wildcards that I need to build everything that I want. Therefore, I'm being conservative with it. And, yeah, it's sort of looking back at Standard. And the Beans, as always, are running the league. We've got the Strixhaven League as part of our tournament series, which is Standard on Arena. And if you don't know anything about that, jump onto the Discord. Again, link in the show notes. And you can join in for the next one. We run events all year, culminating in a invitational at the end of the year for the most consistent competitors or the most winningest competitors, and you apply for a whole bunch of prizes, which is pretty gas. Yeah, so there's been lots of matches played, so well done to all those involved. I managed to get a couple before I went on my little road trip, and I think we're looking at a really healthy spot. Again, Josh and Pats are great. They sponsor these leagues, and they've also sent us some collector's boosters that we're going to give away one a week for people that have played those matches. So every match you play in a week is an entry into winning one of those collector boosters over the 4-week group stage. And we'll draw those out probably on stream if one of us manages to stream. I've got a baby. Cracker started a new job. Shorty's lost his voice, so we're going to try to stream as much as we can with sort of those limitations and parameters. But anyway, I digress. There was a lot of conversation in week one where people just really didn't know what to play because Standard had been forgotten. People hadn't dusted off their Standard decks for a little while, so they really just weren't sure what to play, and there was a lot of discussion. So I thought, well, let's see if I can help. So I whipped out the PayPal account and I paid for the subscription to untap.gg, which is the companion thing, the plugin that works with Arena that, gives you deck lists and your win percentages and all that really useful data. It's free to download and install it. It is really good. Make sure you do have that. It helps you, manage a collection, all sorts of stuff. It's a good little tool. And, you can go to your deck list mid-game and it even gives you a percentage chance of, drawing a land or what have you. It's quite a good tool to use when you're, deck building or, in a tricky spot where you're not sure whether, you should be aggressive or defensive in the game state. It helps you inform that. It's a really good thing. But what they have is they have a subscription service that gives you access to so much more data, so much information. And I paid a couple of bucks. It's like a $5 a month thing. And I unlocked all that info. So this isn't an ad for Untap. We're in no way affiliated with them. It's just, this is where I'm getting this information from, I guess. So if you've got that subscription, you're probably already recognizing this value. But if you're not, then, I'm doing it for you. So, that is where we're at with that. So I happen to be in platinum at the moment. I'm sort of mid-platinum at this point in the season because I got to about this point last season and just started playing a bunch of historic and lost a lot. But I had had my season reset down to gold, and I've been playing through the same deck and getting up to sort of mid-platinum with missing a week with going away. So trying to get through it as much as I can, got a decent win percentage. And I thought I'd have a look at the metagame according to the Arena data and see what's up, see what the best decks are. Because, Magic Online has the deck dumps and things like that, where this gives us a bit more information. So, first of all, you can break it down by best of one or by best of three. So I had a look at best of one, and there is some, there's some decks that do well in that format. So it is having a look at those decks. The most popular deck played is Mono Red Snow Aggro and Boris Winota, followed by Mono White Life Gain, Sultai Ultimatum, Dimir Rogue, Cycling, Mono Black Auras, and Gruul Adventures. So they are the most played decks, the top 8 most played decks. And the best deck, the most winningest deck, with 58.5%, and this is as I'm recording this, I'm sure this is subject to change. 58.5% is Mono White Life Gain. 4-color cycling with the same percentage. 0.1% down is Boris Winoda. Mono Red at 57.4. Mono Black Auras at 55.7. Gruel Adventures at 55.1. Demir Rogues at just a tick under 53%, and Sultai Ultimatum at 52.7. So that's your best of one metagame. So if you're looking at just trying to grind the ladder through best of one, get your daily quests done, sort of get through gold into platinum, or maybe even get into diamond, and you just want to just play some quick matches, you don't have the time to sit down for best of 3, that is that's your metagame. And the Mono Red and the Boris Winoda decks being the most popular, makes sense that the Mono White Life Gain and the 4-color cycling decks are the highest win rate decks. So at, not that far under 60%, which is a really solid win rate for best of one. So my recommendation would be play one of those. There's also, plenty of decks at above 50% win rate, but sort of Gruel Adventures, Mono Black Auras, and Mono Red, in addition to the aforementioned decks, all have a above 55% win rate. And this is based on, a couple of thousand games or tens of thousands of games or whatever it is. So that is your best of one metagame. Now, the best of 3 metagame is something that's it's a bit more interesting and a bit closer to my heart. So if we have a look at the decks that are, performing the best in that, there we go, sort by win rate. There you go. The decks that are winning the most in best of 3, and we'll go from the decks that have a 60% matchup or better, and we'll go from there. Honorable mention is at Prismari at 59.1. So probably a deck that could be refined a little more. It's still new, and it's only had 460 matches played on the day that I'm taking this. So this is a 1-day snapshot of how much each of these decks has been played, and the win rate based on 1 day. So, there may be anomalies there, but it is something that is a really useful tool, particularly if you're trying to select a deck to play. So, at 60.1% win rate with over 1,600 matches played today is Demir Rogues. And, if this is running Lurus and the majority of decks are playing Crabs and, doing all of the normal Rogues things. So Rogues isn't going anywhere. It is, sitting at, plus 60% win rate is nothing to sneeze at in best of 3. So absolutely incredible that, a deck that's had nothing from, effectively the last 2 sets is still putting up that rate. And I think if you are a really well practiced, really well versed in the deck, then you would you might see a scrape above that, which is good. A deck with a slightly higher win rate but less matches played overall, so take that as you will, is Boris Winoda. So it's the aggregate, I guess, deck list. Couple of Alcedes, a couple of Selfless Saviors, Luminarch Aspirants, Professor of Symbiology, Polo Vitor, Skyclave Apparition, and Bone Crusher Giant. So not the all-out Winoda deck that we have seen in the past, but one with more interaction and, the ability to win the game with good cards outside of drawing Winoda. It's also playing Bazoo's Lieutenant, Blade Historian to give all your guys double strike, some Winodas, and sideboard of Red Cap Melee, Scorching Dragonfires, some Oxes. You can board in some Skyclave Mauls or Maul of the Skyclave, to attack from a different angle. And again, that Winoda's probably going to get dealt with, so just killing them with your other creatures, making them better, and flying with them all is good. Redains. We've got a single copy of Mascot Exhibition, which is pretty cool. Reduced to memory, and some Inkling summonings as well. So there is a lot going on with that deck. It's more than just a coin flip now. It's kind of evolved, and it's seeing a plus 60% win rate today, with 920 matches played. Importantly, the average duration is 5.3 minutes. So you do get through your games really quickly. The next most winningest deck is Naya Adventures with 61% even, but only 350 games played. So not anywhere near as popular as some of the other decks being played here, but for those that are playing it, they are having some success. So this is using Gigantha, the Wellspring, as the companion. It's got all of the usual suspects in the adventure package. So Giant Killer, Edgewall Innkeeper. It's got Lovestruck Beast and Bonecrusher Giant, ably supported by things like Showdown of the Skulls and Clarion Spirits. And yeah, it's got some good tech in the sideboard as well, with Clothis, Draneth Magistrate, Roiling Vortex, and friends like Redain, and even a couple of Ripper parts. So it is doing really well as well. So if you're a fan of the Adventures package and you like free cards off Showdown of the Skulls, this deck seems to be doing really, really well as well. Unsurprisingly, another Adventures deck is also on 61% win rate, which is just straight up Gruul Adventures. And this had 460 games played, so a little over 100 more played than the Naya cousin. So it is, a little more straightforward. It's using, it's more aggressive. It's using Brushfire Elementals and Embercleaves to just, force the issue. A couple of Goldspan Dragons, even a Great Henge to, try to go over the top. And some really interesting sideboard cards in this deck as well, with Primal Might and Elder Gargaroth to support things like Oxes and Phoenix of Ash and a Chrome War. So if you just want to get your games done really quickly, either of those adventure decks is definitely something that has seen some success. Okay, so now we've got another Dimir Rogues list with 200 games played, and it's a slightly different. This is the Into the Story build, so it's a variation on Rogue. So but again, Rogues around the 60% mark, which is what you would expect. Boros Cycling, so just straight red-white cycling, is it's called Boros Cycling on Untapped, but it's actually Jeskai Cycling, having a look at the deck list here. So all of the usual suspects with Flourishing Foxes and Draneth Stingers and Zenith Flares, a singleton copy of Prismari Command, because why not? Improbable Alliance is working really well, and yeah, it's a deck that just kind of gets the job done. It sees so much of its deck. It just has the I win button with Zenith Flare, and it is sitting at 61.9% win rate with 360 matches played in the last 24 hours. A deck that has a slightly, 0.1% higher win rate, but has played 660, so an extra 300 matches today, is the Mono Red deck. And it is everything that we've, come to know and love or loathe, depending on which side of the fence you sit on here. But Fervent Champions and Robbers of the Rich, Annex, Bonecrusher Giant, Torbrand, with the new additions of Hall Monitor to, get rid of those pesky blockers, and, full complements of Embercleaves, playing a bunch of Faceless Havens, and, often touted as just a best of one deck, still a 62% win rate in best of 3 standard over the last 24 hours, and 5.3 minutes is the average game length. So a really, really quick way to get your matches done, and you can get them done successfully as well. Sorry, when you solo cast, you need to stop for a drink every now and then. Okay, we mentioned Mono White Aggro, which is the life gain deck in the best of one breakdown. It's also got a 62.3% win rate, but only 360 matches in best of 3. So still a low number, but still doing well. So that is something that is really, really interesting. Getting a little higher now, 64.3% is the Rakdos Sacrifice deck. Only 220 matches played, so quite a small sample size in the context of Arena, but that's what we're looking at in the last 24 hours. So this is it's a Croxer deck with, Maya Tritons and Woe Striders, with Bone Crusher Giants, a Rankle, the Imisturm Predator, which is a Kaldheim edition. It's playing a Kron War with, Village Rights and Claim the Firstborn to, steal your opponent's stuff and then sack them. And, Temerate Calls the Dead to fill your graveyard and make zombies. And it's a bit of a grindy deck, and we've seen a lot of creature decks so far. There's decks like Mono White Aggro and Mono Red and such. So there's lots of fodder for this deck to take a go at. So yeah, the Rakdos Sacrifice deck, 64.3% win rate today, which is pretty exciting. One that surprised me is Mono Green Stompy at 65.6%. Only 290 matches played, but pretty interesting. So it's got Stonecoil Serpents, Swarm Shamblers, Scavenging Oozers, Kazandu Mammoths, Lovestruck Beasts, Thrashy Bees, Gem Razors, and Questing Beasts, with Blizzard Brawl and Primal Mites, topped off with the Great Henge. So just attacking with giant green things. It's like 1994 all over again. So that is a very, very viable deck. It's playing Snow Basics with Faceless Haven, because when you're monocolored, that's what you should be doing. So that's absolutely something that I think we'll see a little bit more of. So yeah, pretty excited by that. Sultai Ultimatum in best of 3 is continuing to perform really, really well. Only 210 matches played, but 66.4%. So it's a Urian deck. It's playing, 4 Emergent Ultimatums with Valkyries and the, Kiora Best of Sea God and things to, Alrund's Epiphanies and all that stuff. The Vorinclex and Pelucrinoses and such. Is playing a lot of ramp. It's playing some counters, playing some removal, playing some sweepers, playing lots of lands, and just ramping into Emergent Ultimatum, and it's doing a really, really good job of it. It's continuing to do really, really well. And our last deck, which has got a whopping 67.9% win rate. And this is all in platinum. 240 matches played for 67.9% win rate. It's huge. So, based on these numbers, this is the best deck in Standard today. Whether it's the best deck in Standard for the week or the month, I don't have those numbers in front of me, but it is certainly the best deck in Standard today. So it's Obosh with Innkeepers, Brazen Borrowers, Bone Crusher Giants, Lovestruck Beasts, with the support crew of Kazandu Mammoth, Goldspan Dragon, 4 copies of Alrund's Epiphany, a couple of Great Henge, a bunch of counter spells, 26 lands plus Kazandu Mammoth is pretty amazing. And yeah, the sideboard is, got plenty of tools for the trade as well. And it is, definitely a, kind of the deck to play and the deck to beat if you've not picked up Standard for a little while. If you're not sure which deck to play, I highly recommend playing Teamer Adventures. It's a deck I've been playing. My list is like 1 or 2 cards different from the sort of aggregate list, mainly due to, personal preference and what have you. But, I've got 70 of the 75 here that I'm running. And if I have a look at my own profile on Untapped GG, I have got a 20-4 record. So an 83% win rate sitting in halfway through Plat 3. So I started playing this at Gold 4 at the start of the season and have run this through. So it's a deck that I'm learning the nuances of, and I've certainly been having a fair bit of success. If somebody could offer me a 20-4 record with any deck, I'll definitely take that. So that is definitely a deck to play. For those interested, 5-1 against mono red, 3-1 against the green-black deck that plays all of the Magecraft spells and the plums. 67 against Sultai, 2-0 against mono white, 2-0 against mono black, 2-0 against rogues, 2-0 against red black sacrifice, and I lost to the Winota deck when I was paired against it one time. So yeah, the deck feels really, really good, and yeah, it's hard to go past endorsing Team Adventures as the best deck in the format right now, today. And yeah, it's something that if you're not going to play it, then you should learn how to play against it and have some sideboard cards, maybe some Drannith Magistrates or something like that is good against the Team Adventures deck. Interestingly, it doesn't really rate very highly on the best of one side of things. It's more of a best of three deck, but I tell you what, it's more of a best of one deck than probably people give it credit for. It does some pretty powerful things. So it never misses a land drop, mulligans really well, and can go over the top with Goldspan Dragon, Alrund's Epiphany. So yeah, that is our sort of standard metagame breakdown. Sort of ran through that relatively quickly, and yeah, if you are in a position where you can spot the $5 a month for the Untapped subscription, you do get a lot of value out of it. There's a lot of information available there, and you can consume that and use that for good or evil as you see fit. Because I'm flying solo, we don't have the rest of the beans going on wild, long, impromptu tangents, so we're going to wrap it up there at just over 45 minutes rather than the hour, but hopefully you've got good quality over quantity there. Quick reminder of our leagues. We are into the second week of our Strixhaven League. The league will run for another 2 weeks after this one, and then we'll move into the finals stage where the highest ranked competitors from each group will then battle it out until we have a top 8, and then we'll do our final stream, which is always loads and loads of fun. They are brought to you by Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. Check out their daily auctions and tell them that the Beans sent you. Jump into our Discord if you want to take part in any of our leagues or chat about decks, chat about Limited, chat about anything you want. It's a good little community we've got going there in the Magic Beans Discord, so recommend getting in. If you want to support us directly, you can jump onto our merch store and you can buy Magic Beans t-shirts, hoodies, playmats, coffee mugs, mouse pads, etc. Some stickers there as well, so you can help us out there, which is great. We are also on Twitch at Magic Beans Cast. You'll find us on Facebook and YouTube as well. Just search up Magic Beans Cast. You can find the Magic Beans on Twitter at Magic Beans Cast. And if you're looking for me on Twitter, you can find me at Chewy MTG. Thanks very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we will be eagerly watching the Modern Horizons 2 preview season, because if the opening salvo of previews is anything to go by, it's going to be a pretty bonkers set, and yeah, a nice shake up of Modern, which is a format that we all enjoy. So we'll end it there. Thanks very much for listening. Stay safe out there, everyone, and we'll talk to you next time here at the Magic Beans Podcast.